I do feel that there's a need for expanding access to testing, expanding access to family counseling, expanding access to germline testing as well as precision medicine implementation as much as we can so that we enable people to have better control of their life.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Precision Medicine Podcast, proudly sponsored by Trapello. This is the podcast where leading voices in cancer explore how to bring precision medicine to patients everywhere. Welcome back to the Precision Medicine Podcast. I'm Karan Cushman, your co-founder, producer, and host. Today, I am honored to kick off our new series, Bringing Precision Medicine to Everyone. We're launching this series at a critical moment in cancer care. Incidence is rising, especially in some of the most common types and among younger adults in some of these same disease areas. In 2024, the U.S. surpassed 2 million new cancer cases for the first time. Precision medicine is recognized as the standard of care in national guidelines. It offers a powerful way to improve outcomes and extend lives. Yet access remains inconsistent, particularly in community settings where 80% of patients receive care. Gaps in testing and limited access to targeted therapies mean that too many miss out on personalized care that could lead to better, earlier decisions and help save lives. In collaboration with our expert friend, Dr. Kashyap Patel, and his No One Left Alone initiative, this series will explore how we make precision oncology accessible to every patient, regardless of zip code. Along the way, we'll be joined by leading voices across oncology, diagnostics, and patient advocacy, sharing insights and solutions from the front lines. We'll examine the full continuum of care, from understanding risk and enabling early detection to navigating the complexities of testing, identifying the barriers, and presenting real-world solutions. Our goal is simple: to empower patients, caregivers, and care teams with the knowledge and tools to bring the best of modern cancer care to every corner of the country. We hope you'll join us throughout this series as we work to dismantle disparities and ensure that no one, no matter where they live, is left behind or alone in the precision age of healthcare. With me today to kick off the series, Bringing Precision Medicine to Every Patient, are two experts. First, my good friend and two-time podcast guest is a nationally renowned community medical oncologist and author who has devoted his life's work to cancer patients as CEO of Carolina Blood and Cancer and leader of organizations such as the Community Oncology Alliance. Now, his latest collaboration, No One Left Alone, aims to address health disparities and improve access to care through research and education. Welcome back, Dr. Kashyap Patel.
Thank you very much, Karan. I'm so much honored to come back on this series, and also you are continuing to harness the power of social media as well as the podcast to bring true justice to those who are left behind and left alone due to geographic reasons as well as lack of awareness. Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be part of this series.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, as you know, also joining us for the series is Dr. Angela Charno-Casikis. And she is obviously a good friend of ours. We've been talking about this series for a while. She brings a different perspective as she is a physician expert in the molecular diagnostics space. She is triple board certified, inclusive of molecular genetic pathology, and has also completed a postdoctoral fellowship training in clinical medical ethics. After years of academia and in the community, she now works as Chief Medical Officer for Palmetto GBA and Medical Director with the MolDX program. There, she writes health policy that helps move the field of precision medicine forward. Uniquely, she is also a breast cancer survivor and advocate for the appropriate use of genomic genetic testing. Welcome, Dr. Casikis.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I'm so excited to be here and to have this opportunity to talk about these important topics with yourself and with Dr. Patel and to educate the public. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, as you both know, we aim to make our episodes really easily understandable for our wide range of listeners, which include patients, caregivers, highly specialized clinicians, scientists, researchers, market access teams, policymakers, and more. So I want to kick us off with a little bit of history here and really start from ground zero. So the term personalized medicine, which is often referred to now as precision medicine, was actually first introduced to the public in 1999 by the Wall Street Journal. Later that year, the term was introduced to the medical community in the Wall Street Journal article as it was republished in the journal The Oncologist. But 25 years later, we still see this one size fits all approach to medicine, especially for patients in those rural communities that we keep talking about. For them, the term and concept of precision medicine remains mostly a mystery. Well, until now, anyway. So, starting from the ground up, just continuing, as background, precision medicine is an approach to healthcare that tailors prevention, diagnosis, and treatment based on an individual's unique genetic makeup, protein profile, and environmental factors. In cancer care, precision medicine involves analyzing specific characteristics of a patient's tumor to guide diagnosis, inform treatment decisions, predict outcomes, and track how well therapies are working. Common examples include genetic testing to assess cancer risk, tumor marker testing to support diagnosis, and targeted therapies designed to attack particular cancer cell types, such as HER2 positive breast cancer, for example. By personalizing care at every stage, precision medicine holds the promise to significantly improve outcomes for patients. So that gives us a little bit of history. I think even the person who may know nothing about precision medicine should have a pretty good grasp of what we're talking about here. So, Dr. Patel, you ironically have been practicing as a medical oncologist in the Carolinas now for that same period of time since the term precision medicine was first introduced to the public, 25 years ago or so. And you've stayed committed as a community oncologist this entire time. Being a patient myself, treated in the community, I admire that very much. It's getting harder and harder to do that. So I think what I'm alluding to here is you recently kind of considered retirement and decided it just wasn't your time. And instead you started this organization, right? No One Left
Hmm.
Alone. And every day I think just about you're inspired to continue doing what you're doing. And like I said earlier, we've been talking about this series for almost a year now. So just to kick us off, why is expanding access to precision medicine, especially in the community and rural settings, so important to you and so important right now?
Excellent question and excellent comments, Karen. And once again, I'm honored to be part of this podcast series with you, Angie, etc. So coming back to, I hate to bring analogy of the war, but when we go back and look at the evolution and devolution of the armament, back 50 years back, all we heard was a napalm bomb that would be like a cluster bombing that would destroy everything. And now we have a sniper attackers who can literally use a target to really, take on the person who's disruptive. Coming back to same concept has evolved in the biology of human nature. Understanding that cancer was probably has been known to be the biggest killer for humanity for decades or maybe millennia.
Mm.
For last 25 years, we have evolved the science to the point of identifying the DNA level of the tumor,
Mhm.
the quantification of the tumor, the families that are clustered to have multiple cancers because of like BRCA or DNA damage repair defect, etc. But the access to testing, access to treatment with targeted therapy is still a big problem. And we've done our own study over last probably 5 years since we started No Left Alone project. And we found that nearly fourth or half of the patients, depending on what geographical region you live in, do not have access to that for multiple reasons. Could be just the lack of awareness, could be insurance reason, could be awareness from the patients or providers, as well as payer policies, and so on and so forth. So I've decided to commit myself to bring as much awareness as possible to ensure that everyone who has the potential of getting curative therapies with certain intervention, with a lot less aggressive intervention, with lot less side effects, should get that.
Mm.
And down the road, I'll give you a nice example of one of my patients, almost 10,000 miles away. But I do feel that there's a need for expanding access to testing, expanding access to family counseling, expanding access to germline testing, as well as precision medicine implementation as much as we can, so that we enable people to have better control of their life.
Hmm. So true. Dr. Kasikas, from your perspective, as patient, pathologist, health plan policy writer, why is this work so important to you?
This work, as you mentioned, right, touches my world in multiple different ways. And, the vast majority of our country, people are getting treated primarily in the community setting. Certainly, there are pockets where we have large academic centers, and they tend to be very equipped with a lot of the latest testing and clinical trials. And the key is to really have an equal playing field across the board, that really anyone, no matter where they live, should have access to the same treatments, interventions, etc., that will not just extend their life, but enhance their life. In this day and age, we don't have much of an excuse. Biomarker testing and precision medicine are the standard of care, and they really do impact a patient's life and journey. And it's important that both physicians and patients are equipped with the knowledge and with the ability to utilize what, again, has become a standard of care. And so patients may not know what to ask for. We don't expect them to know what to ask for, but their physicians should work together with them to have those resources available. It's also critical in this day and age where the science is moving so rapidly and the guidelines have evolved and they move so quickly that it's hard to keep up sometimes. But again, at the end of the day, these are people's lives at stake, and we don't have much of an excuse to not appropriately equip these patients for the best possible outcomes.
Mm. Well, Dr. Patel, we were talking in the green room a little earlier. Could you give a few examples of patients whose stories really continue to inspire your commitment to this work?
Absolutely. So back in 2017, I got a call from a very dear friend of mine from India. And he said that, hey, Kashyap, do you remember me? I'm so and so. And my son, who was doing PhD at Oxford in UK, has just been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And they've asked him to come back to India because he probably has less than 3 months to live. He's got tumor in his brain as well. And we are completely devastated. Coincidentally, I was also going to go to India within 2, 3 months, but I said, would you be able to help me access the tissue sample of the biopsy that was done in UK? We walked on our heads. I was able to get a piece of tissue. We got it to Foundation Medicine in Boston, and we found ALK mutation into his tumor. So at that time, there was a drug being developed in phase 3 trial in the third line treatment. And knowing that there was no other option left for this kid, otherwise he would have been, deceased,
Mhm. Mhm.
I rapidly acquired some of the alectinids. We shipped it over to India, and in about 6 weeks or so, the kid started getting better. So we decided to continue him on that, and after lots of calls back and forth, we were also able to procure some of the patient assistance resources because the family is not very wealthy. And I'm so honored to say that today that kid is alive, 8, 9 years out now, got married, and teaches back at university political sciences. So I'm so honored to share this story. I have many other stories I can keep, taking entire section of this conversation, but I do feel
Mm.
that there are enough examples that merit so much attention to become the brand ambassador of this benefits of precision medicine technology that once again not too many patients are able to access right now.
Well, let's get into that. Angie started to allude to some of those barriers. And in the beginning, we also talked about we are at a really exciting time, right? Innovations are coming faster and faster, discoveries, more therapies. And in a way, it's also a sad time because the gap in access is getting greater. And so, what might you say, Dr. Patel, are perhaps the three main barriers standing in the way of patients accessing precision medicine more broadly from the community?
So the first one I'm going to say is the awareness of the latest and greatest. Every doctor tries to do their best, but it's not limited to community because I just want to have a full disclosure.
Yeah.
I've come across patients from the ivory towers, the best teaching hospitals, where it's not being done. So I think it's more to do with an individual physicians or individual team that looks after the patient. So I think provider awareness is number one. Number two is the barriers from the financial reasons. So if patient is uninsured, this is expensive testing and they may not have resources to fulfill the financial obligations. And the third thing is sometimes we call it the, once again, payer reasons, and where payer policies are frequently dictated by geographical areas. So of course, I'm so happy to see this Angie's team works all the time to bring a coverage policy quick enough so that we can access those testing. But there are some different plans that are small, that are kind of regional, that may not cover all the testing. So the three big issues that I deal with is number one is provider awareness. Number two is the financial reasons. Number three is the payer policies. And if we are able to address these three, I think majority of the patients, in my experience and opinion, will be able to access the benefit of precision medicine with latest and greatest treatment options.
The Precision Medicine Podcast will return right after this. Coming up next in our series, Ellen Matloff, certified genetic counselor and CEO of My Gene Council, joins us for a powerful conversation on genetic testing. She shares how it's transforming patient care and giving individuals the knowledge to make informed, life-changing decisions, along with practical tips on how patients and clinicians alike can navigate the testing process. You won't want to miss it. With the explosion of new discoveries in precision medicine, how can clinicians keep pace to know which biomarkers will guide cancer treatment decisions? Trapelo knows. Trapelo is the only decision support platform used by oncologists, labs, and payers to resolve the complexities of precision medicine in real time, eliminating treatment gaps for patients. Trapelo knows who to test, when to test, which tests to order, the preferred labs to use, and how to connect biomarker results to the right therapies. It also knows which tests and treatments align with health plan policies, streamlining prior authorization, reducing delays and costs, and unlocking the full promise of high-quality, personalized cancer care. Visit trapelohealth.com to learn how you can give cancer patients the most appropriate, evidence-based treatment options when time matters most. Angie, what would you add in addition to those three, or how would you expand on maybe number 2 and 3 that Dr. Patel just described?
Sure. So I think certainly these are real life issues, right?
Mhm.
And so patients are dealing with financial toxicities of medical care, certainly varying degrees of insurance coverages and support, but also awareness is so key. And in the literature, you see it over and over again. And Dr. Patel's right. I mean, it's both in the community as well as in the, academic centers. It's not restricted to one area. It's really these guidelines do, which is fabulous, by the way. The guidelines are updated very frequently, but the science is fast, right? I mean, you can think back of just any technology that we've had in this day and age and how quickly it's evolved. The science is evolving at a similar pace. It's difficult to keep up, but it's critical. And the scientific literature has shown over and over again, not just the importance of these molecular therapies or targeted therapies. And I think I'm going to take a step back just for a minute to explain what
Mhm.
those are. So precision, medicine, another critical aspect of it is when a patient does have a tumor and there is a genetic mutation or alteration that's found in that tumor that can be treated with a targeted therapy. That is a very direct kind of treatment for that person and is part of this umbrella that we call precision medicine, as opposed to, some kind of chemotherapeutic or something else that may not be exactly as directed to that patient's tumor. And so despite the benefits that we know exist because of biomarker driven therapies, biomarker testing is often underutilized or it's not acted upon when it is utilized. And there are so many reasons for this. And again, there have been a lot of publications about this issue as well. And so raising awareness is key. So what are some of those additional barriers? One thing that does come up routinely is how long sometimes it takes to get a result back.
Mm. Mhm.
And so, you may send out for testing, but you've got a patient in front of you that needs to be treated. And at the end of the day, how long are you willing to wait to get that patient treated? And so you may say, well, I know that this therapy could be the most targeted if, in fact, my patient has this genetic alteration, but I don't yet know because it's going to take a while to get that result back. So, meanwhile, I'm going to treat with something else. And that may not always be the best approach. So, again, everybody's different. And this testing, however, is getting more rapid. And so, again, we're in an era that a lot of these tests can be performed in a fairly expeditious time frame such that a physician isn't wondering, should I wait or should I not before treatment?
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, of course, we're going to get into the answers to a lot of what we're raising here today in this intro in coming episodes, but I would just like to dig in a little bit more as we think about this world of health equity. What is needed to bring precision medicine closer to patients? And if we just looked at that first bucket, if you will, of better awareness around the latest and greatest developments in precision medicine, I think last year we looked in the Trapello platform, and on average there were 13 guideline updates a month. So it gets compounded very quickly. What are some solutions at a high level that could help those clinical care teams more in real time keep pace with the innovations? What's needed in the world of education there, but also within the workflow so that we're not adding to that result time, if you will, but that it's at their fingertips? What do you think, Dr. Patel?
So I think two parts to this. The most swiftest and quickest thing would be to include the pathologists. And the reason is because they are the individuals who initiate reaction. For example, if you send a sample for breast tissue testing, then automatically they look at doing ER, PR, HER2, as well as K67, all of that. So there should be a collaborative approach between the regional team where there's some sort of consensus about the panel. Number two is, once again, I think how in the older days, pre-COVID days, we used to have lots of tumor boards. Some or the other, in
Hmm.
the post-COVID era, things have been like slow. Things have been more compartmentalized. So I think it's important for having the providers that includes pathologists to be in a chain of commands of common consensus about the number of tests that one should be ordering. And also the other thing I've seen, I'm not sure if it's still there or not, the 2 weeks rule. So the old equation that limits the additional testing within 2 weeks because of the DRG probably interferes in the financial implications of being reimbursed. So these are some practical and logistical challenges I've seen. So I feel that the education initiative should include the pathologists and the physicians, as well as surgeons. For example, if the gastroenterologist does the upper GI endoscopy, finds a tumor, they may take just one simple FNAC, in which my experience shows that there may be a lot of limitation because of the QNS result that's invariably will result when we try to do the NGS testing. So there has to be much broader expansion of the education initiative from the companies that are involved in doing this, or maybe even the companies that make targeted therapies. So that probably would be the most productive intervention to alleviate the barriers at the level of providers.
So, Dr. Kasikas, from your standpoint, being at Palmetto GBA and what we're talking about today, what are you most excited about as we think about, okay, how are we going to solve some of these complications, obviously, with regard to those that are underinsured? How are organizations looking at enabling or unlocking access for patients that kind of sit a little bit more in that underserved box, if you will, with regard to health plan policy?
Sure. So I'm excited that I have the opportunity to work with a team of experts in this space. So when we're writing policy, we're really well equipped and familiar with the molecular landscape, the landscape of precision medicine. And we've also been out there in practice as well, right? So in the real world. And it's so important that we are moving as the science moves and that we are continually looking at the latest literature and ensuring that access to care is available that aligns with the most recent knowledge and benefits that are associated with these kinds of precision treatments. That makes me very optimistic. The key is that we may write a policy that's very forward thinking to allow access to these types of tests and treatments and things, but they have to be utilized on the other end. And that's important too, right? So there is a life cycle here to this kind of work. And so it's important, as Dr. Patel pointed out, to have a dialogue, to have multiple people involved in the care of the patient, some of whom will be more and others may be a little bit less familiar with the latest guidelines. But when they work together as a team, you're ensuring that everyone is utilizing their expertise to the maximum, and hopefully with that, ensuring the optimal care of a patient.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Kasikas. Well, so Dr. Patel, I wanted to give you the opportunity to just share a little bit about your No One Left Alone initiative, how folks can find it and learn a little bit more about it and what you're working on right now there.
So thank you for asking on that. During the peak of the COVID, we started reading that the COVID associated morbidity mortality does not impact everyone equally. And that's the same year, report came out from the AACR indicating that 34% or 1 in 3 cancer deaths is preventable in America if we didn't have disparity. So, as I dived very deep into this, I realized that a lot more has to be done. And with my clinic that is partly located in suburban area and rural area, I thought we had to do something. I looked for a solution. I didn't find anything that actually was probably the way I looked into solutions. So I said, let me start my own idea. So we went back and forth, decided to start our own not for profit called No Left Alone. And to a certain extent, I would say I'm a control freak where I literally, I went on the Secretary of State website, I registered the company myself along with my CPA. We applied for 501c3 status. We were quite honored to find that we got it very quickly. And then to show my own commitment, I decided that every time I add one more year, I would multiply my age by 1,000 and put that one in foundation. So in last 3 years, I put close to about $200,000 into the foundation to show my own personal stake in that. But the idea is that not a single patient who comes to our clinic from our geographic area should ever feel uncomfortable accessing all the treatment, including transportation, food insecurity, housing, utility bills, all of that. The benefit that emerged was that we realized that solutions are local, and if everybody replicated what we're doing, I would say that the impact of disparity could be minimized. So we are trying to increase the awareness of how a small community clinic like that of ours with 5 MDs and 4 mid-levels can take matters into their own hands and use every possible philanthropic organization within our area to ensure that every human being that needs access to care for our specialty can have access to care, and we've shown it that we can do it successfully. So there's a website called noleftalone.org. It highlights our findings, our process in place, how we're able to address virtually every brick and mortar that leads to disparity and how we can fix it.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, on that same note, what are the best ways for listeners to connect with you on social media or otherwise? Where are you most active there?
So I'm typically most active on the LinkedIn and Facebook. I also have our own website, like I said, noleftalone.org. I have my own personal website, kashyappatel.com. And, again, bring back my book. I also believe that We need to have everyone have the option of living this world at their own conditions. So between life and death is
Mhm.
something that I strongly recommend people to look at it. So they can reach out to our office. I think it's www.cbcca.net. That's our office website. And I'm sure if they try to Google me, there should be some way that they can reach out to me through social media or connection.
Wonderful. Yes, I'm glad you just touched on the book there. You are an end of life coach, and in your book, you talk about how your dad taught you to become fearless. So specifically in the book Between Life and Death, From Despair to Hope. This is sort of a surprise question here. I like to have at least one. But you talked about how your dad taught you to become fearless. And I'm putting you on the spot here, but I am really curious, if I may ask, in honor of your mom, what is one thing that she taught you that you might share with listeners?
So my mom recently passed away 12 days back, and what she taught me, so my dad taught me to be fearless. My mom told me to be carefree, not careless. Her theme of the life was that do not let your self-respect be judged by somebody else, because world will judge you in different way based on their conditioning. She said if you listen to your soul, heart, mind, and follow the voice of your inner conscientious, you'll never do anything wrong. So just to bring back my memories, she never went to a doctor. Even though I'm her son, she never went to a doctor. She lived until she was 86. She was
Mm,
morbidly obese. Her BMI was 36, 37. She ate what she wanted, didn't have blood check done, didn't get a colonoscopy done, didn't have kind of mammogram done. But she was walking up until 2 months before she died, and she said, "You know what? I'm happy." So she taught me that how happiness, how being always in control of your happiness can make you outlive your colleagues.
mm, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, just wrapping up this episode, I want to bring it back. The intent of this episode is to bring precision medicine to every patient. And so, Dr. Patel, maybe you could share one more patient story with us that just really represents what we're trying to do here through this series.
Perfect. And I think for those who attended, I think Angie was at our No Lie event last time. I have this
Was.
wonderful lady. She's about, I think, in the mid early 80s. Her face was swollen from SBC syndrome. She was completely short of breath and didn't even know what she was doing at a stage 4 lung cancer. And the first thing we did was to do NGS on a tumor sample. We found G12C and we found appropriate medication for her. It's about 3 years out now. She lives normal life and she's now caregiver for her husband. So this lady now, every time we do No Live event, is a brand ambassador for how the quick and right biomarker testing, followed by intervention, no matter what age you are, can allow you to regain control of your life and live your life to the fullest.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, Dr. Kashyap Patel and Dr. Angela Kasikas, I really appreciate you both being with me today and kicking off this series for our listeners. I'm looking forward to the next. I'm not sure how many episodes we have coming up. We may just keep going on forever.
Well,
Thank you.
it's great
Yeah.
to have the conversation continue. I think that's key. And at least for me, it's an honor to work with the two of you and provide this education and awareness to the world.
Absolutely.
Likewise, same here. I'm so honored to be part of this team and will continue our journey unabated now onwards to make a difference in the people's lives who need much help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. And we'll see everyone next time. You've been listening to the Precision Medicine Podcast, sponsored by Trapello. Trapello is the only decision support platform used by oncologists, labs, and payers to simplify precision medicine and eliminate treatment gaps for patients. To learn more, visit gettrapello.com. We invite you to join us on social media. You can find us on LinkedIn at the Trapello Company page, on X at PMP by Trapello, and on YouTube at the Precision Medicine Podcast channel. You can also connect with me, your host, Karan Cushman, on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. If you know someone who'd enjoy the Precision Medicine Podcast, please share it. Thank you, and we hope you'll tune in for the next episode.